They said when Ngozi met the man by the river, the moon hid its face. His smile was sweet, his touch colder than death, and from that night she was never the same. Her beauty began to fade, her laughter turned hollow, until her mother followed her and saw the unthinkable. A shadow with no legs, no face, lying with her daughter by the stream. The spirit roared, and lightning split the sky. One woman dared to fight a god, not with power, but with love. But when the river called for blood, whose life did the goddess take? This is the story of Ngozi, the maiden who wanted every man, until the spirits found her. They said beauty could make a king kneel, but Ngozi's beauty made even the gods turn their heads. In the quiet village of Umuokoro, the morning drums spoke of harvest and laughter. Goats bleated along the dusty paths, and the smell of roasted yam filled the air. Yet beneath that peace was a name that stirred both admiration and warning. Ngozi, daughter of Mama Uju, the palm wine tapper's widow. From her teenage years, Ngozi had become the talk of every evening fire. Her skin was as smooth as new clay after rain, her eyes sharp like the edge of a new blade, and her laughter, oh, her laughter, it could make a grieving man forget his sorrow. The women whispered, "She walks like she owns the sun." The men, they lost sleep. Farmers would forget their hoes in the field when she passed. Hunters would miss their targets when her voice floated through the forest path. Even the elders, those who claimed wisdom, would pause mid-sentence when she walked into a gathering. But Ngozi's beauty came with something darker, a hunger, a desire that no man could fill. She enjoyed watching men fight over her. She would sit by the stream, legs in the cool water, tossing her hair as two young men traded blows nearby. To her, it was entertainment, proof of her power. When one suitor left her hut with gifts of beads and wrappers, another would arrive with a cock or a pot of palm wine, begging for her love. Her mother, Mama Uju, often sat at the doorway of their mud hut, shaking her head. "My daughter," she would plead, "a woman's beauty is like palm wine, sweet today, sour tomorrow. Use it with wisdom." But Ngozi would only laugh and say, "Mama, the world is for the beautiful. Let me drink from it before it dries." And she did, without care or caution. The elders began to murmur. "This girl will bring tears to her mother's eyes," they said. But no one could stop her, not even the priest who once warned her, "Ngozi, when the heart becomes too greedy, spirits begin to notice." She laughed in his face. "Let them notice me. Maybe I'll charm them too." That night, as the moon rose over Umuokoro, a soft wind swept through the village. The dogs barked, then fell silent. From the thick forest beyond the stream came a whisper, low, calling her name. "Ngozi." She turned her head sharply, but saw no one. Her heart skipped. For the first time, a strange chill ran down her spine. Still, she smiled and said to herself, "Even the night wants me." She had no idea. That was the first call from the spirit who would one day own her soul. The wind would call her again, but next time she would answer. They said the drums of Umuokoro beat louder when Ngozi danced. Weeks passed since the night the wind called her name. Life in the village moved on, or so it seemed. But wherever Ngozi went, trouble followed like her own shadow. At dawn, young men gathered around her compound, pretending to help Mama Uju fetch firewood or repair the broken fence. By afternoon, they followed Ngozi to the stream, offering to carry her water pot. And at night, the same men would quarrel outside her hut, their voices rising until the cock crowed. One evening, two friends, Obina and Akene, nearly killed each other over her. They had been childhood brothers, born on the same day, sharing everything from farm tools to secrets. But after Ngozi smiled at both,
love turned to poison. The fight happened in front of everyone. Obina swung first, and Ekene's head met the sharp edge of a hoe. Blood stained the sand. Ngozi screamed, but deep down she felt a thrill, a strange satisfaction that two men could shed blood for her. Mama Uju heard of it and ran from the market, wailing, "My daughter, this is how a curse begins. How many homes will you scatter before you are full?" But Ngozi, instead of remorse, adjusted her necklace and said softly, "Mama, men fight because they want what shines. Is that my fault?" That night, the elders gathered beneath the big Udala tree. The oldest among them, Elder Nadozi, spoke slowly, chewing kola nut. "This girl," he said, "walks with a spirit she does not yet see. Her feet are dancing too close to the other world." The villagers nodded, but none dared confront her. Even the priest of the shrine kept his warnings brief. Ngozi was too beautiful, too confident, too untouchable. And so her name became a song, sung by those who loved her, and cursed by those who feared her. But beauty has a rhythm, and like a drumbeat, it quickens with danger. One night, as the village prepared for the new yam festival, Ngozi stood before her mirror, a bowl of still water, admiring her reflection. The moon shone through her window, silver and calm. She whispered, "Let tomorrow bring me another gift, another lover, another story." Then she heard it again, "Ngozi." The voice was deep, smooth, and close, closer than before. She froze, her breath caught. The bowl of water rippled, a faint light shimmered across it, two glowing eyes staring back at her. "Ngozi," the voice said again, this time from beyond the door. Her heart pounded like the festival drum. "Who's there?" she whispered. Silence. Then a gentle laugh, not quite human, not quite real, drifted through the night. When she opened her door to see who called her name, it wasn't a man that stood waiting. It was something else.
They said the stream of Umuokoro never lied. It always showed the true face of those who came to drink from it. That night, after hearing her name whispered by the unseen voice, Ngozi could not sleep. The wind outside her hut howled like a spirit mourning its lost child. She tossed and turned, her beads clinking softly in the dark. By dawn, the voice was still in her head. "Ngozi, Ngozi." It called with a sweetness that felt dangerous, like ripe fruit hiding a worm inside. At first light, she rose, wrapped her cloth tightly around her chest, and walked toward the stream. The air was thick and heavy, not even the birds dared to sing. When she reached the water, she knelt and looked into the surface, expecting her reflection, but what she saw made her gasp. A man stood on the other side of the stream. He was tall, taller than any man she had ever seen, with skin the color of midnight rain and eyes that glowed faintly like the last embers of a dying fire. His smile was gentle, his voice smoother than palm wine. "Do not fear," he said. "I've been watching you." Ngozi's heart raced. "Who are you?" "Call me Obioma. I come from far beyond the hills. I have seen beauty in many lands, but none like yours." She blushed despite herself. "You speak like a man who knows too many women." He chuckled softly. "I know only desire, and today it brought me to you." His words sank into her like warm rain into dry soil.
He promised her beads from the river gods, gold from the merchants of the coast, and fine wrappers woven with moonlight. Ngozi listened, half dreaming. Every word from him felt like a charm, pulling her closer to the edge of the stream. "Come," he said, extending a hand. "Cross over, and all you desire will be yours." Something in his eyes held her still, a light that flickered, then dimmed, as if it did not belong to this world. For a moment, fear pricked her chest. "No," she said softly, "I don't even know you." He smiled wider, showing perfect white teeth. "You will, soon. I will visit you when the moon hides her face." And before she could speak again, he was gone, swallowed by mist rising from the stream. Ngozi stared, heart pounding. The water returned to calm, but the air still carried his scent, strange and sweet, like flowers that only bloom at night. She turned to leave, whispering to herself, "He'll come to me, and I will be ready." But as she walked away, the stream behind her rippled once more. From its depths, two glowing eyes followed her, unblinking, patient, waiting. That night, when your moon disappeared, Ngozi would learn what it means to love a man who isn't truly human.
They said when the moon hides, the spirits walk freely, and only fools wander in the dark. That night, Okoro slept under a sky swallowed by clouds. Not even a glimmer of moonlight touched the earth. The dogs whined, the owls called from distant trees, and the air itself seemed to hold its breath. Ngozi sat in her hut, restless. She had tried to forget the stranger at the stream, his glowing eyes, his honeyed voice, but she couldn't. His promise of endless gifts, his words that felt like a spell, played over and over in her mind. Then it came, that same whisper. "Ngozi." Her breath caught, the voice drifted through the window, smooth and low like a flute carried by the wind. "Ngozi, come." Her heart thudded. She rose slowly, her feet moving before her mind could protest. Without thinking, she wrapped a shawl around her shoulders and stepped outside. The village was silent. No drumming, no laughter, only the distant croak of frogs near the stream. The voice led her down the narrow path between the tall grass. Fireflies flickered ahead, forming a faint trail of light as though showing her the way. The moment she reached the stream, she froze. He was there. Obioma, tall, handsome, still glowing faintly in the darkness. This time he was not across the stream. He stood right before her, bare-chested, his skin glistening like water under hidden moonlight. "You came," he said, smiling. "I knew you would." Ngozi swallowed hard. "You said you would come to me." "And I have," he replied, taking a step closer. "You've been waiting all your life for a man who could see you, truly see you." His voice wrapped around her like a song, soft and dangerous. Her knees trembled. Without knowing why, she whispered, "Who are you really?" He chuckled, and the sound made the air tremble. "A lover, a giver, a spirit of all things you crave." Before she could move, his hand brushed her cheek, cold and smooth, like stone dipped in water. A strange warmth spread through her, then a sudden weakness. Her vision blurred. The world seemed to tilt. Her lips parted to speak, but no sound came out. Then she saw it. His feet were gone. Below his knees there was nothing but swirling mist. Her eyes widened. She tried to step back, but his hand tightened gently on her arm. "Do not fear, my flower," he murmured. "The night only takes what is offered." And as he leaned closer, his face shimmered, beautiful one moment, monstrous the next. Ngozi screamed, but her voice vanished into the wind. When dawn came, Ngozi's mother found her lying by the stream, alive, but something in her eyes had changed forever.
They said the rooster crowed 3 times before Mama Uju found her daughter at the stream. It was dawn. Mist lay thick on the ground like sleeping spirits. Mama Uju had risen early to fetch water, humming a prayer under her breath, when she saw something that froze her song mid-note. Ngozi lay beside the stream, half covered in dew. Her wrapper was soaked, her hair tangled with weeds. Her skin, once glowing like polished bronze, looked pale and cold. "Ngozi!" Mama Uju screamed, running to her. She shook her gently. "Ngozi, my child, what happened?" Ngozi's eyes opened slowly. They were dull, far away, as if she had seen things no human should. "Mama," she whispered weakly. "He came." Mama Uju's heart sank. "Who came, my daughter?" Ngozi turned her face toward the water. "The man from the stream, Obioma." The older woman's knees buckled. She clutched her wrapper and muttered a prayer. "Chiukwu! What kind of spirit's name is that?" When they returned to the village, the neighbors gathered quickly. News spread like fire. Ngozi, the beauty of Umu Okuro, was found lying by the stream before sunrise. Some said she had fainted. Others whispered she had met a ghost lover. The priest of the shrine, Dibia Okeke, was summoned. He came with his staff and cowries, his face painted white with sacred chalk. He studied Ngozi for a long time, then said, "She has opened a door no human should. A spirit has touched her, and now he knows her scent." Mama Uju wept bitterly. "What can be done?" The Dibia's eyes darkened. "Tell her to stay away from the stream when the moon hides. If she goes again, the spirit will not return her alive." Ngozi said nothing. She only sat on the floor, staring blankly at the wall. Her beauty had dimmed, her lips dry, her eyes heavy. Yet beneath her weakness, something restless still lived, a strange longing, as if part of her wanted to see him again. That night, Mama Uju stayed close, watching her daughter like a hawk. Ngozi lay quietly, pretending to sleep. But as the crickets sang, a faint sound drifted through the air, that same soft whisper. "Ngozi." She opened her eyes. The voice came from outside, gentle but commanding. "Ngozi, you cannot hide from me." Her heart pounded. She sat up, trembling. Mama Uju stirred beside her. "Who are you hearing again?" the old woman asked, half asleep. Ngozi swallowed hard. "No one, Mama, just the wind." But outside, the wind began to laugh, a low, haunting sound that was no longer human. The spirit had marked her, and soon even the daylight would no longer protect Ngozi from his call.
They said when a woman disappears for 3 nights and returns breathing, she is no longer fully human. It began on a moonless night. The air was heavy, the crickets silent. Inside Mama Uju's hut, Ngozi lay still, pretending to sleep. Her mother sat by the doorway, muttering prayers and clutching a rosary of cowries. But sometime after midnight, the oil lamp flickered, then died. The hut fell into darkness. A cold wind seeped through the cracks, carrying that familiar voice, smooth, patient, and near. "Ngozi!" She sat up, her eyes wide. "Come." "Mama warned me," she whispered, trembling. "Your mother's world cannot hold you anymore," the voice said. "You belong to the river now." And then silence. Mama Uju woke to find her daughter's mat empty, the door wide open, footprints leading toward the forest path. She screamed so loud that even the night birds fled from the trees. By dawn, the whole village had gathered.
Hunters, elders, even the priest joined the search. They combed the forest, the farmlands, and the riverbank. But Ngozi was gone. Not a piece of her wrapper, not a single footprint beyond the stream. Mama Uju collapsed by the water, beating her chest. "Spirits of my ancestors, have mercy, bring my child back." For 3 days, the drums of Umu Okoro went silent. No laughter, no market songs. People whispered that Ngozi had been taken by a Mami Wata, the river spirit who loved beautiful girls and dragged them beneath the water. Others said she had become a wife to the spirit man. On the 2nd day, strange things began to happen. The river overflowed, though it had not rained. Fish floated dead on the surface. Children fell sick with fever. And every night, villagers claimed to hear singing from the water, a woman's voice, soft and sorrowful, calling a name that was not her own. By the 3rd morning, everyone had lost hope. Mama Uju sat by the stream, her eyes swollen from crying. She refused food or water, whispering only one thing: "If she lives, may she return. If she is gone, may her spirit rest." Then, just as the sun began to rise, someone shouted from the far end of the riverbank, "There! Look there!" Out of the mist came a figure, barefooted, her wrapper torn, her skin pale as ash. It was Ngozi. She walked slowly, as though sleepwalking, her eyes glassy and distant. The villagers gasped. Some ran in fear. Others crossed themselves and muttered prayers. Mama Uju ran to her and grabbed her shoulders. "Ngozi, where have you been?" Ngozi blinked, her lips trembling. "I was with him, and he promised to come again." Then she fainted in her mother's arms. When Ngozi awoke, she began to speak words that were not hers, and the Dibia warned that the spirit had now entered her fully.
They said when a spirit finds a home in a woman's body, her voice will no longer belong to her alone. Ngozi slept for 2 days after she was found. Her breath was shallow, her skin cold. Mama Uju never left her side, feeding her small sips of herbal water and whispering prayers between sobs. On the 3rd day, Ngozi opened her eyes, but the girl who looked back at her mother wasn't the same one who had vanished. Her eyes seemed darker, her movements slow, deliberate. When she spoke, her voice came layered, as if 2 people were speaking through one mouth. "Mama," she said softly, her lips curling into a faint smile, "I'm home." Mama Uju froze. Something about the tone sent chills through her bones. "Thank the gods," she cried. "You are safe, my child." But when she tried to hug her, Ngozi pulled away gently and whispered, "Don't touch me. He doesn't like that." Mama Uju frowned. "Who doesn't like what?" Ngozi turned her head slowly, her eyes glancing toward the doorway where no one stood. "Obiya, he is here, watching." Mama Uju stumbled backward. "Chiyuku, Ngozi, what are you saying?" Ngozi smiled faintly. "He promised never to leave me, even when the sun rises." Terrified, Mama Uju ran to fetch Dibia Okeke, the village priest. He arrived with his cowries, feathers, and a small pot of burning herbs. When he entered the hut, he bowed his head slightly, as though sensing a presence. "There is something here," he said in a low voice, "a shadow that does not belong to this world." Ngozi watched him, quietly. The priest began chanting, shaking his rattle. The air thickened, the flame flickered blue. Suddenly, Ngozi spoke, but it wasn't her voice. "Old man," the voice said, deeper and colder, "do not anger me." The Dibia stepped back, sweat dripping down his brow. "Who are you?" he demanded. "I am what her desire summoned," the voice replied. She wanted love without end, and I answered, "Now she is mine." Mama Uju screamed, "Leave her alone! Take me instead!" The spirit laughed, a hissing, echoing sound that made the walls tremble. She called me. I came for her. The living cannot undo a bond made with the unseen. The Debia sprinkled white chalk in a circle around Ngozi and began chanting louder, calling upon the ancestors for strength. Ngozi's body jerked, her eyes rolled back, and her voice turned into a cry of pain, half human, half beast. The fire flared, then died suddenly. Darkness swallowed the hut. When the light returned, Ngozi lay motionless on the floor. Mama Uju knelt beside her daughter, shaking her body. "Ngozi, speak to me!" Ngozi opened her eyes slowly and smiled faintly. "Mama," she whispered in her own voice this time, "he says he's not done with me yet." That night, the spirit would come again, not in dreams, but in flesh, to claim what he believed belonged to him forever.
They said when a spirit finds a home in a woman's body, her voice will no longer belong to her alone. Ngozi slept for 2 days after she was found. Her breath was shallow, her skin cold. Mama Uju never left her side, feeding her small sips of herbal water and whispering prayers between sobs. On the 3rd day, Ngozi opened her eyes. But the girl who looked back at her mother wasn't the same one who had vanished. Her eyes seemed darker, her movements slow, deliberate. When she spoke, her voice came layered, as if 2 people were speaking through one mouth. "Mama," she said softly, her lips curling into a faint smile. "I'm home." Mama Uju froze. Something about the tone sent chills through her bones. "Thank the gods," she cried. "You are safe, my child." But when she tried to hug her, Ngozi pulled away gently and whispered, "Don't touch me. He doesn't like that." Mama Uju frowned. Who doesn't like what? Ngozi turned her head slowly, her eyes glancing toward the doorway where no one stood. "Obioma, he is here, watching." Mama Uju stumbled backward. "Chiuku, Ngozi, what are you saying?" Ngozi smiled faintly. "He promised never to leave me, even when the sun rises." Terrified, Mama Uju ran to fetch Debia Okeke, the village priest. He arrived with his cowries, feathers, and a small pot of burning herbs. When he entered the hut, he bowed his head slightly, as though sensing a presence. "There is something here," he said in a low voice, "a shadow that does not belong to this world." Ngozi watched him quietly. The priest began chanting, shaking his rattle. The air thickened, the flame flickered blue. Suddenly, Ngozi spoke, but it wasn't her voice. "Old man," the voice said, deeper and colder, "do not anger me." The Debia stepped back, sweat dripping down his brow. "Who are you?" he demanded. "I am what her desire summoned. She wanted love without end, and I answered. Now she is mine." Mama Uju screamed, "Leave her alone. Take me instead." The spirit laughed, a haunting, echoing sound that made the walls tremble. "She called me. I came for her. The living cannot undo a bond made with the unseen." The Debia sprinkled white chalk in a circle around Ngozi and began chanting louder, calling upon the ancestors for strength. Ngozi's body jerked, her eyes rolled back, and her voice turned into a cry of pain, half human, half beast. The fire flared, then died suddenly. Darkness swallowed the hut. When the light returned, Ngozi lay motionless on the floor. Mama Uju knelt beside her daughter, shaking her daughter's body. "Ngozi, speak to me." Ngozi opened her eyes slowly and smiled faintly. "Mama," she whispered, in her own voice this time, "he says he's not done with me yet." That night, the spirit would come again, not in dreams, but in flesh to claim what he believed belonged to him forever.
They said when the night grows too quiet, it means something from the other world is walking among the living. After the Dibia's failed cleansing, the people of Umu Okoro grew fearful. Some told Mama Uju to take her daughter far away. Others said she should send Ngozi to the shrine for 7 nights of purification. But Mama Uju couldn't bring herself to let her only child go. "I will not lose her again," she said firmly. "I'll keep watch. The gods are not blind." That night, she burned herbs by the door, lit 2 lamps, and kept a wooden cross of palm fronds beside Ngozi's bed. The girl lay still, her eyes half open, whispering to someone unseen. "Mama," she said softly, "he's close." "Sleep, my child," Mama Uju pleaded. "You are safe." But Ngozi smiled faintly, her gaze fixed on the dark corner of the room. "He's already here." And then the wind rose. The flames of the lamps bent sideways. The air turned cold. From the shadows, a faint shimmer appeared, like mist gathering into shape. Slowly it formed into a man's figure. His face was beautiful, glowing faintly, but his eyes burned like fireflies caught in darkness. Obioma had come. Mama Uju screamed and grabbed a handful of ash, throwing it toward the figure. "Leave my daughter alone!" The spirit turned his head toward her, smiling coldly. "Mother of flesh, she belongs to me. Do not stand between us." He stepped forward, and the ground trembled slightly. Ngozi sat up, her face soft and calm, as if welcoming an old friend. "You came," she whispered. "I never left," Obioma replied, his voice deep as thunder from beneath the earth. "Did I not promise you a love that never ends?" Mama Uju began to pray, calling on the ancestors, her voice trembling. "Spirits of our blood, protect my child." The spirit laughed softly. "You cannot protect her from what she invited." He reached out his hand. Though his form was smoke, it shimmered like moonlight. Ngozi hesitated only a moment before taking it. Her body shivered, her eyes rolling back slightly, as the spirit's glow wrapped around her. "Ngozi," her mother cried, "fight him! Remember who you are!" Ngozi turned slowly toward her. "Mama, I feel alive when he's near. He fills the emptiness no man could fill." Tears streamed down Mama Uju's face. "That emptiness is not love, it's a trap." The spirit's glow brightened. The entire hut shook, the roof rattling like thunder. Then, suddenly, silence. Obioma stepped back, fading into the shadows. "Soon, when the next moon rises, she will come with me forever." And then he was gone. Ngozi collapsed into her mother's arms, her body cold as stone. Mama Uju held her, rocking her gently, whispering through her tears, "You will not take her, you wicked thing, not while I still breathe." Desperate, Mama Uju would go to the sacred forest to beg the gods themselves for her daughter's soul. They said no mother's tears fall to the earth without waking the gods. After that night, Mama Uju knew the spirit's promise was no bluff. Each time Ngozi looked into the distance, her lips moved as though answering someone no one else could see. Her body grew weaker, her laughter hollow. The next moon was only 3 nights away. Mama Uju waited until dawn, then wrapped her head in a red scarf and tied a small gourd of palm wine at her waist. She told no one where she was going, only whispered to the sleeping Ngozi, "Wait for me, my child. I'll bring help that even spirits fear." The path to the sacred forest of Nwangele was forbidden to most villagers. It was said that only the Dibia and those chosen by the ancestors could step beyond the tall Iroko trees and return alive. But Mama Uju was desperate, and desperation makes the heart fearless.
As she entered the forest, the air grew thick with the scent of damp earth and strange flowers that bloomed without sunlight. Birds stopped singing. Every step echoed as though the trees themselves were watching. She reached a clearing where an ancient shrine stood, a mound of clay covered in white chalk, with cowries and feathers scattered around. Smoke rose from a crack in the earth. Falling to her knees, Mama Uju cried, "Spirits of the ancestors, hear me. My daughter is bound by a river spirit. Take my years, take my strength, but free her." The wind stirred. The fire within the shrine flickered. Then a deep voice answered, neither male nor female, a sound that felt like thunder rolling beneath the ground. "Mother of Ngozi," the voice said, "your child opened her heart to the forbidden. Her desire called what the earth cannot control. Why should we interfere?" Mama Uju beat her chest, her voice breaking. "Because she is human, because she was foolish, not wicked. I beg you, spare her soul." The ground trembled. The smoke turned golden. From it rose a glowing figure, an old woman draped in palm leaves and beads, her eyes bright like sunrise. "I am Neneka, the guardian between river and sky. Your love is strong, but the bond your daughter formed was made with her own will. It cannot be undone without sacrifice." Mama Uju bowed low. "Name it, whatever it takes." The spirit's eyes softened. "When the next moon rises, go to the stream. Stand between your daughter and the spirit. Offer him your life in exchange for hers. Only one can walk away." Mama Uju's lips trembled. "If that is the price, I will pay it." The goddess nodded slowly. "Then so be it. But beware, spirits do not yield easily. He will test your courage before he accepts your gift." Thunder rumbled far away. The golden light began to fade. As the forest fell silent again, Mama Uju rose shakily to her feet, her eyes filled with fear and resolve. "I brought her into this world," she whispered. "If the spirits want a life, they'll take mine, not hers." As the moon began to rise, Ngozi felt the spirit calling, and Mama Uju knew the time had come to face him. They said the moon that night rose red, not gold, not silver, but the color of blood. The villagers whispered of strange winds and dogs barking at shadows, but inside Mama Uju's hut, silence reigned. Ngozi sat motionless, her eyes empty, her lips pale. A faint hum escaped her mouth, the same haunting tune she had first heard at the stream. Outside, the crickets stopped singing. The air thickened. Then came the voice, deep and smooth, like river water sliding over stones. "Ngozi," it called, "the moon has risen. You promised." Mama Uju's hands shook, but she stood, gripping a wooden staff coated with white chalk. Around her neck hung the charm the goddess Enekan had given her, a simple snail shell tied with red thread. The door creaked open by itself. Ngozi rose as though pulled by an unseen force and began walking out into the night. Her mother followed, whispering a prayer with each step. They walked past sleeping huts, past the yam barns, until they reached the same stream where the first meeting had happened. But now the stream glowed faintly, the water moving as though alive. And there, standing on the surface, was the spirit. He looked no longer like a man. His skin shimmered like smoke. His eyes burned white, and his smile was wide and cruel. "You came?" he said softly, his gaze fixed on Ngozi. "My bride." Mama Uju stepped forward. "She will not go with you. I am here in her place." The spirit tilted his head, amused. Her place. You think you can trick a god of the water? I do not trick, she said firmly. I offer. The charm around her neck began to glow. The river hissed, waves rising as if resisting the light. The spirit's laughter echoed through the forest. Birds fled from the trees. You are brave, old woman, but this girl belongs to me by her own desire. You cannot change that. Mama Uju's eyes filled with tears. Then take me instead. Let her live. She was foolish, not evil. I beg you. For a moment, the spirit was silent. Then, with a whisper that chilled the night, he said, If I take you, her blood still flows in your veins. The bond will remain. He raised his hand. The water around him swirled violently. Ngozi screamed as the river's edge pulled her forward. Mama Uju shouted the sacred words Eneka had taught her, thrusting the snail shell toward the water. The glow burst into bright light, cutting through the darkness like lightning. The spirit roared, a sound so loud it shook the ground. Birds fled from the trees. Do not interfere with what is mine, he thundered. But Mama Uju didn't step back. She held her ground, her body trembling, her voice cracking. Then take me, but let her go free. The spirit's form wavered, half smoke, half man. For a brief moment his expression changed, almost sorrowful. Your love blinds you, woman. Few mortals would defy me. The red moon reflected on the water, casting shadows that danced like spirits around them. And then the spirit stretched out his hand, pointing toward the sky. Before the moon sets, your sacrifice will be tested. Thunder cracked, the ground split slightly beneath their feet. Ngozi fainted, collapsing into her mother's arms as the spirit vanished into mist.
They said when Ngozi opened her eyes that dawn, she looked alive but not human. Her skin glowed faintly, like moonlight trapped in flesh. Her eyes were no longer brown, they shimmered with pale silver. And when she spoke, her voice was soft but strange, like two people talking in unison. Mama Uju froze. Ngozi? The girl smiled faintly. Yes, mother, I am here, and so is he. The old woman's heart dropped. The spirit had not taken her child's life, he had taken her body. Ngozi rose slowly, her movements too graceful, too smooth. She looked around the hut as though seeing the world for the first time. He said he would come for me, she whispered, her tone distant. Now he never has to leave. Mama Uju trembled. She clutched the snail charm still hanging from her neck, whispering, Neka, you said the sacrifice would be tested. What do I do now? But no voice answered, only the faint rustling of morning wind through the raffia roof. Days passed, and the villagers began to notice. Ngozi no longer joined the women at the stream. She didn't eat, yet she never looked hungry. When she walked through the village square, men lowered their eyes, for something about her presence felt heavy, sacred, and dangerous. At night, Mama Uju would wait to the sound of water dripping, though no rain had fallen. Sometimes she found her daughter standing outside, staring at the moonlit road that led to the stream. Mother, Ngozi said one night, her voice layered with another tone beneath it, he says you broke the bond. He says you must return what was promised. Mama Uju's hands trembled. Tell him I gave my word to the goddess. He will not have you again. The voice in Ngozi laughed, not hers, but the spirit's, mocking and cruel. Do you think gods honor bargains made by mortals?
When the blood moon rises again, the river will reclaim what belongs to it." Mama Uju held her daughter close, though her heart raced with terror. "Then I'll face that moon beside you," she said. For a moment, the girl blinked, and her real voice broke through, weak and pleading. "Mama, I'm scared. I can feel him inside me." Mama Uju's tears fell fast. "Hold on, my child. The ancestors will not abandon us." But even as she said it, the wind outside began to howl, and the stream's faint hum echoed in the distance, a reminder that time was running out. When dawn came, Ngozi sat silently at the door, tracing strange symbols in the sand with her finger. Her shadow no longer matched her movements. Mama Uju watched, praying under her breath. She knew the final moon was near, and with it, the spirit's claim. The Dibya of Umu Okoro returns from exile, bringing a prophecy that could save Ngozi, but only through a ritual that demands a price greater than life.
They said no man ever walked back from exile, except the one the spirits refused to kill. The old Dibya, Okena, had been gone for 12 seasons. The villagers had cast him out after a failed ritual cost a child's life, but when strange things began to happen, animals dying near the stream, the moon bleeding red again, whispers spread that only Okena could face what haunted the village. And so, on a gray morning heavy with fog, he returned. His hair had turned white as cowrie shells, and his eyes burned like burning coals. Around his neck hung charms of bone, iron, and feather. As he walked through Umu Okoro, people hid behind their doors, murmuring prayers. He went straight to Mama Uju's hut without asking directions, as if guided by unseen hands. When she saw him, she knelt quickly. "Dibya Okena," she said through tears, "my daughter is cursed. The spirit of the river has taken her soul." He studied Ngozi for a long moment. She sat still in the corner, her face calm but her eyes distant, like a reflection on deep water. He said, "She is neither here nor gone. The spirit bound himself through desire. Such a tie cannot be broken by force." Mama Uju's voice trembled. "Then what can we do?" Okena placed a small clay bowl on the ground and poured palm oil into it. "There is one way, but it demands a sacrifice no mother should face." The room grew still. Even the wind outside seemed to wait. "The goddess Neka may still protect the girl, but she will not undo the bond unless something dearer than life is given." Mama Uju looked up, her face pale. "You mean—" He nodded slowly. "Your blood must speak for hers, a cleansing that joins mother and daughter under the last blood moon. If you falter, the spirit will consume her completely, and your soul will follow." Ngozi stirred, her voice echoing with the spirit's mocking tone. "You cannot take what is already mine." Okena turned to her, his eyes glowing. "Be silent, water demon. You have no power here until the moon calls you." The hut trembled, pots fell. Ngozi screamed, a sound that was not human. The Dibya held firm, drawing a symbol on the floor with chalk and blood. He turned to Mama Uju. "When the final moon rises, bring her to the stream. You will stand at its edge and call her name 3 times. Do not break the circle I will draw around you, not even if she begs you to." Mama Uju's tears fell onto the dirt floor. "And if I fail?" Okena's voice dropped low. "Then both your names will vanish from the mouths of the living." He packed his charms, his hands trembling slightly. "Prepare yourself, woman. The night will not forgive weakness." As he stepped out into the fading light, thunder rolled again over Umu Okoro, the same sound that had once marked his exile.
The villagers watched from afar, whispering, "Another sacrifice, another curse?" But Mama Uju only held her daughter, whispering through her tears, "If the spirits want my blood, they shall have it, but they will not take you again." The night of the final moon arrives, and as the villagers gather in fear, the stream begins to move like a living thing, waiting for blood.
They said the wind that night spoke like a living thing, carrying voices from the river, sighs from the dead, and the cries of women yet unborn. The moon rose heavy and red, staining the world beneath it in crimson light. No one in Umu Okoro slept. Doors stayed shut, fires burned low, and mothers clutched their children tight, whispering prayers they barely remembered. At the edge of the forest, by the stream that had claimed so many secrets, stood Mama Uju, her daughter Ngozi, and the old Dibia Okenna. The air was thick, not with warmth, but with something colder than fear. The river looked calm, but its surface pulsed faintly, like the slow heartbeat of a sleeping beast. Okenna drew a circle on the ground, with chalk mixed in his own blood. "When I begin to chant," he said, his voice steady, "neither of you must leave this mark. Step outside, and the spirit takes you both." Mama Uju nodded. She held Ngozi's hand tightly, though the girl's skin was icy and her eyes reflected the moon like two small mirrors. The old Dibia lifted his staff, its cowries clinking softly, and began to chant words older than the village itself. "Ekwensun ken miri, leave what is not yours. Spirit of desire, return to your world. Let no heart beat for the dead." The water began to ripple. From its depths, a faint glow appeared, then grew brighter, rising slowly until the spirit emerged. He looked almost human again, tall, radiant, beautiful beyond words. But his beauty hurt to look at, sharp as broken glass. "Ngozi," he said softly, "come to me. You made a promise." Ngozi took one step forward. Mama Uju tightened her grip. "No!" The spirit's eyes burned. "Old woman, why fight fate? You cannot win against what your child desired." Mama Uju lifted her chin, her voice steady, though her body trembled. "If it takes my blood to free her, then let the river drink." Okenna's voice grew louder, faster. The ground trembled. The moonlight turned white-hot. The spirit screamed, not in pain, but in fury, and waves rose high, crashing onto the banks. Ngozi convulsed, crying out, "Mama, he's pulling me!" "Stay in the circle," Okenna shouted. "Don't break it." The wind roared. The circle of chalk flickered, half erased by flying dust and water. Mama Uju dropped to her knees, clutching Ngozi tight. "If you take her," she cried, "take me too." Lightning struck the river. The spirit's form wavered, half water, half flame. "So be it," he thundered. Then he rushed forward, a blur of light and darkness colliding. Mama Uju screamed a single word, "Neka!" The charm around her neck burst into brilliant gold. The light exploded outward, blinding everyone. When the world stilled, silence returned. The wind stopped, the water calmed. But Mama Uju lay still on the riverbank. Ngozi is beside her, breathing, alive, but her mother's body did not move. Okenna dropped his staff, his old eyes wet. "The goddess has taken the offering," he whispered. Lo, as the sun rises, Ngozi wakes to find herself free, but her mother gone. And then the river speaks one last time.
They said the morning after the blood moon, the air smelled of rain, though no cloud crossed the sky. Birds returned to the forest. The river flowed quietly, as if it too was weary from the night's battle. And on its bank lay Mama Uju, her body cold but her face calm, like one who had fallen asleep smiling. Beside her sat Ngozi, her eyes swollen from crying. The spirit's mark on her skin had vanished. Her beauty had returned, but it shone with something deeper now, sorrow wrapped in wisdom. The old Dibia, Okena, stood nearby, staff in hand. "She gave her blood so you might live," he said softly. "The goddess accepted her soul in your place. Such love bends even the will of spirits." Ngozi wept harder, clutching her mother's still hand. "I never meant for any of this to happen. I only wanted to be loved." The Dibia sighed, his voice heavy with age. "And in chasing many hearts, you forgot your own. But your mother remembered it for you." They buried Mama Uju beneath the iroko tree that watched over the village stream. The women wailed, the men bowed their heads, and even the wind seemed to whisper her name. That night, as Ngozi sat by the fire, she heard the stream hum, soft, gentle, no longer menacing. Then, from the rippling water, came a faint voice, her mother's. "My child," it said, "you have been spared. Let my story teach you, beauty fades, but a woman's heart is her true gift. Guard it well." Ngozi rose, tears glistening in the moonlight. "I will, Mama. I will never forget." From that day, Ngozi changed. She no longer sought the attention of men or gifts of gold. Instead, she became the village's voice of counsel, warning young maidens with words drawn from pain. Don't chase every smile. Some eyes belong to the dead. Desire can call spirits that even prayers cannot send away. And so, when the villagers spoke of her, they no longer called her Ngozi the Temptress. They called her Ngozi the Redeemed, daughter of the woman who faced a god and won through love. Years later, when she grew old and her hair turned gray, children still gathered around her hut to hear the tale of Mama Uju and the river spirit, how one woman's heart was strong enough to silence the water. And when she told the story, she always ended the same way. A woman's beauty may open doors, but only her wisdom can keep them safe. And when love becomes hunger, the spirits will come to feed. Then she would look into the fire, smile faintly, and whisper, "May every daughter learn before the river calls her name."